So this class is Therapeutic Options. Who knows what that means? Khadija, you're gonna have to be the one who tells everybody because you've had it before. So tell us what Therapeutic Options is.
Oh, I always think of the way to go about a situation.
Yes, absolutely. We're trying to figure out how to de-escalate a situation using our language skills. But if we can't do that, at the end of this class, we'll go over the physical things that we're going to do if we have to intervene physically in the situation. So, if you guys will look on here, I have taken out a few of the slides in here that I didn't feel like were super relevant to what you guys are going to be doing in your jobs. But we can touch on some of those things as well. But the first thing we're going to talk about is our 2 questions. We're going to talk through the questions and then you guys are going to answer the questions. Even if you've never done this before, you guys are going to answer these questions because you know how to answer these questions. You just got to dig a little bit to find the answers. All right. How do we provide services and supports in such a way that a person does not need to resort to violence in order to participate, be heard, or to get his or her needs met? How do we do that?
Listen to what they have to say.
Listen to what they have to say. Yes, ma'am. Somebody else give you some other ways that we can do that. How do you make people heard? Morning. How do you make someone heard who cannot verbally communicate with you?
Their facial expressions and
Pay attention
body
to their
language.
facial expressions, body language. Some of our individuals are vocal, but they're not verbal. So that means they can't tell you what's wrong, but they may be able to vocally kind of point you in the direction of what might be going on. So you're not only listening to the individuals, their spoken language, but you are also paying attention to their body language and their gestures. All right? So let's look at our second question. If despite our best, most thoughtful efforts, a person does become violent, how can we keep everyone safe and preserve the helping relationship that we have worked so hard to create? How do we keep that relationship with these individuals even if they do become violent and we have to assist them physically? How do we keep that relationship with them? Dig a little deep for me. If you have to put your hands on someone, say it's your child, and you have to give them a spanking, how do you keep that relationship with that child? Now, you're not spanking our individuals, obviously, but I'm just trying to use that as an example.
I guess depending on their ability, you can go back and explain to them why you did what you did in a nicer way. And
Absolutely. Explain to them, and you can explain during. Sometimes our individuals are going to be able to understand that, but if you're past the boiling point and you're so hot and you're so upset, you're not going to be able to understand someone explaining it to you when you're in that moment. So you may have to go back and explain. But some of our individuals are going to be able to understand that as it's happening. So say if it's someone who is going to fall, and that's the reason, and now they're already upset that they're going to fall, and I had this happen Saturday. She's very, very unsteady on her feet, but she doesn't want anyone to help her. And I'm sure we've all experienced that. Someone in our lives, a parent, a grandparent, an aunt, someone that has become a little unsteady on their feet and they don't want that assistance yet, but they need that assistance. So my way forward with that is always to explain to the person, hey, this is why I'm helping you out of this situation. Most of the time that works. Sometimes that does not work depending on the person's mental capabilities and their diagnosis. So if you're working with an individual who has dementia, then basically all bets are off. You might end up being able to assist in that situation, and you may not be able to assist in that situation. It depends on what's going on in that situation with that individual, depending how far they are into their diagnosis of dementia. So, there's an individual at Hunter's who, and Saturday, I don't know if you guys remember me talking about the event that we were gonna have Saturday. So we had the event out here, and there were individuals everywhere, and the incident that I just talked about happened at the event with the lady not wanting me to help her, even though she was about to fall. So your job is to help no matter what. I mean, don't let somebody fall just because they say they don't want assistance. You're gonna have to get in there. You can't, unfortunately, with an individual that's older, that is a little bit more brittle than we might be. You can't just let someone fall and say, oh, natural consequences. No, we do not let our individuals fall if we can at all help it. And if you have to upset someone just a little bit and hurt their feelings by putting your hands on them and making sure that they don't fall, then you're gonna have to hurt somebody's feelings and ask for forgiveness later, right? Does that make sense? Okay, all right. So I had another individual that was hanging out with me at the event, and he has dementia, but it's getting a little bit more severe. And he would tell us that his foot hurts. And I know you know who probably it is just by me saying that, but he kept saying his foot hurts. Every time we would ask him if we could do anything, he would yell at us and tell us to leave him alone. So we just had to give him his space, and eventually he came around and told us why his foot was hurting, which is the same reason his foot is always hurting. But you can't badger someone just to get, a response from them. And I see that in documentation all the time. I saw it in documentation this morning, and I had to edit it. That individual that I was talking about, that I had to help her, even though she was not super keen on my assistance, staff wrote a GER that got turned in this morning, and I know you know what a GER is, but you guys are gonna learn about GERs in the morning. So that's our reporting system within our agency. So if Khadidra puts in a GER, I can then see that GER on my therapist so that I can edit or send out, hey, you might wanna say things this way next time, something like that. Well, the staff had put that they told the individual to sit down. Can we say things like that? Can we do things like that? Why can we not?
Because they have an option, they have a choice.
Yes, they have an option, they have a choice, because they are adults just like we are, right? Please don't walk out of this room and forget that. These are adults, and it does not matter what anyone else in your house says or does. These are adults, and you treat them like adults. I promise to you, you're gonna have many fewer issues if you treat people like adults. Because we all wanna be treated like adults, right? I mean, I know that this is kind of I don't call it an artificial setting, but this is a different setting because you have to come to class, you have to do these things, you have to, complete this before you move out into actually working. But within that, I try to give you as many options as possible because you're adults. And I think that also kind of shows you guys without telling you guys that that's how you should treat our individuals. Give them choices, give them options, and that is gonna help us in these next situations that we're gonna talk about. All right, so then we have the bottom line, and this is slide number 4. It is never okay for a staff person to be injured at work, but we do not have to choose between the safety of the people providing services and the people receiving services. We commit to both. How can we make that commitment? How do we keep you safe and the individual safe? How do we keep you happy and our individuals happy? Come on, you know this. We just talked about it. What did I tell you guys to do? What are we given? Choices, options. That is the way that we're gonna keep everything happy and going smoothly in the facilities, by giving adults choices. All right. We also do not have to choose between safety and the recovery goals and quality of life of the people receiving services. We commit to both. That just means that we're teaching you physically the correct ways if you have to put your hands on someone, so that we're not concerned, or not, we are concerned, I don't mean concerned, but we're confident that you know what to do in those situations. So you're gonna take this class every single year that you work here, because this is very, very important for you to get a refresher on this is how you should work with our individuals. All right, so we're going to watch a short video here, and then we're gonna talk about what happened in the video. And while the video is playing, I'm gonna pause my recording. I'm gonna step out and get you your packets and a few other things, and then I'm gonna come back. All right, so you guys watch the video, and then we're gonna talk about it. And if you wanna go ahead and kind of look at the questions I'm gonna ask you, those are gonna be on slide 4 on your packet. All right, so now we're gonna flip to that slide 4. Here it's slide 6, but for you guys it's slide 4. What is the earliest point in that situation that we could have intervened with Tom? At the very beginning, what could we have done? You guys know the answer to this. What could we have done better than just send Tom away? Yeah. Don't make a promise to someone that you're not going to be able to keep. Why should we not make a promise that we're not going to be able to keep? Do you guys like it when people make promises to you that they won't keep? No. These are adults just like you, and they don't like that either. But please keep that in mind, that you don't make promises that you can't keep. How do you think that this incident will be documented? How do you think that people will, that the staff will document that? That he was the problem, that the behavior came out of nowhere. I hear that all the time. I see that all the time. Did Tom's behavior come out of nowhere? No. What caused Tom's behavior? Not being able to go to the canteen and being lied to. If someone lies to me, I'm going to be upset about it. Now, I may not react the same way that Tom did, but who's to say what would happen if I were in that situation in a residential treatment facility like Tom is? All I have going on is going to the canteen. Who's to say I'm not going to react that way? How do you, okay, so we talked about that. What are the consequences to Tom for the way that we handled this situation? He had to be restrained. Somebody had to physically put their hands on him. What is Tom gonna get labeled as? Aggressive. Was Tom aggressive those first few times that he came up? No, he asked nicely. If what we are doing is trying to teach our individuals how to ask for things correctly, and then we don't respond the correct way, then how are we gonna blame that on the individual for our shortcoming and our, now, I'm not saying that you can predict everything. An individual might come to you and say, they wanna go play, they wanna go, play baseball or softball out in the yard. You say, okay, once I finish cooking dinner and everybody eats, we'll go do that. I'm assuming it's a summer day. Please don't do that in the wintertime and throw a softball at somebody. So, but anyway, I'm assuming that we're doing that in the summertime, and you tell the individual that. Well, by the time dinner is over, it might be pouring outside. Well, you're not gonna go play softball at that point, right? So there are circumstances that are out of our control, but if the circumstances are in our control, then we need to make sure that we follow through on the things that we tell someone that we're going to do. Because we would expect that same thing back from someone, correct? Why do you suppose that the staff are all clustered behind that barrier? What does staff tend to do when they get together? Gossip. They tend to separate themselves from the individuals. And I watched some of that Saturday, but I also saw a lot of the newer staff interacting with the individuals. So we're slowly changing, and that makes me happy, but we always are going to have ways that we need to improve, correct? If you're working at a facility that has 2 staff, or you're working at a facility that has 2 staff on a particular shift because it's a double coverage night, please don't separate yourself from the individuals. Interact with the individuals. This is their house. Why would they want 2 people in their house over here just kind of, chatting and talking on their own and not giving, paying attention to them or doing anything with them? Would you want 2 strangers in your house doing that? No. I don't want anyone in my house anyway. I literally fussed at my husband this morning because I said his friends didn't have boundaries because they like to, just kind of stop by the house. And that is something that is just ingrained in me, that you don't do that. I'm one of those people that the doorbell rings and I'm hiding somewhere because I don't want company. But my husband's like, oh yeah, come over anytime. So we are vastly opposites. That's something we struggle with sometimes. But our individuals are the same way, right? And you might have 4 people living in a house that 3 of them want company whenever company comes by, and then you have 1 individual that is not interested in people coming over at any time. So that's why we have house rules. The 4 individuals get together and they choose the rules in their own house so that they can decide whether they want somebody coming over at any time, or at certain times this is not the time that they want someone to come over. Why do you think that going to the canteen is so important to Tom? Maybe that's all he's got to look forward to, right? Maybe Mandy made breakfast this morning and it was totally horrible, but Harriet's working in the kitchen and he knows that he's at least gonna get a good lunch, right? I get hangry, I really do. My son is terrible about it. He gets hangry as well. So if you've gone, say that he had, his crappy breakfast at 7 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock, I'm gonna eat the cards on the table or something because I'm ready to eat. So when I've come up here twice already and then I come up that 3rd time and it's time for me to go, it is time for me to go eat, right? I cannot be held responsible for how I act in that moment. Once I hadn't, it's been that long since I've had something to eat. This figure did not create itself. I have to work with it and keep it this way, so. All right. Okay, so this right here is the multi-tiered prevention. And we're gonna talk about ways to stay in the green. So you guys give me some ideas of ways to stay in the green. You can either come up with your own, or you can give me some things there on the side that's gonna keep us in the green. But everybody's gonna answer.
Making sure the needs are met.
Nice jump there, too. She's like, oh yeah, I'm answering that one. That's the one I'm picking because that's the best one. Yes, making sure that their needs are met. All right, the rest of the 6 of y'all gotta drag through here and come up with something because Deidre stole the good one.
You need to respect them.
Yes, you need to respect them. If you want someone to respect you, then you should give that same respect, right? All right, somebody else, tell me some ways to keep people in the green. Building a good rapport, good relationship. You could be as nice as, you could be as helpful as you can be, but if you don't have any relationship with that person, that might not mean anything to them.
Encouraging a healthy lifestyle.
Yes, encouraging a healthy lifestyle. What do we mean when we say encouraging a healthy lifestyle? What are we trying to help our individuals with? Say you're working with an individual that's diabetic. What are you trying to do to help them live a healthy lifestyle? Yes, eating correctly. And those of you who were in the, when I did the books, the purple, orange, and blue book scavenger hunt, that information is going to be in the purple book as to whether an individual is on a specific diet that we have to follow. All right, I need 3 more ladies to tell me some things about keeping us in the green.
Providing responsive customer service.
Okay, how do we translate that into working with individuals in their home? What are you providing there?
You mean like you're just working
Mm-hmm.
about customer service, just like make
Yeah.
sure your needs are met?
Yeah, making sure their needs are met, they have the supplies that they need in the house. If you're telling them that, if you're saying, okay, we're gonna work on your program to sweep the floor, then we need to have the supplies to sweep the floor in the facility, right? I can't tell my sons to go put the dishes, or to turn on the dishwasher if I haven't first made sure that we have dishwasher pots, right? You can't tell someone to do something unless we have all the supplies that someone needs, or else we're setting ourselves up for failure. Because someone's gonna get frustrated if they don't have the things that they need to complete the tasks that you're asking of them, right? All right, 2 more gals. Improving their quality of life, yes. And I know a lot of these are kind of the same, but sometimes it helps for you guys to find the answers, because then as you're going through your life out here in our facilities, you think, oh, I said this in class that, we're working on improving somebody's quality of life. How can I do that today? On a regular day, how can you improve my quality of life? What can you do?
Meaningful educational work.
Yeah, meaningful educational work, something that means something to me. If I were sitting in an office just typing documents all day, and I know I do sit in my office, but I'm, all over the place a lot of the time. But if I were just sitting in there typing like legal briefs or something like that, I'd be out of my mind, because that is not something that I enjoy. We all should be doing something fulfilling. And our individuals deserve that as well. So if our individuals can work, it is the responsibility of this agency to find them meaningful employment that they want to do. Aisha's going to Queen, and then you're going to Queen. You've got 2 individuals at Queen 2 at the guys' home that work, and I talked to them Saturday, and they absolutely love their jobs. They do. They work at Golden Corral, and that may not be my dream job, But for the guys, they're getting out and they're doing something, they're earning money. One of the guys told me how much money that he had earned on his last check. And I said, well, by coincidence, sir, that's how much money you owe me. And he was like, okay, let me get my wallet. I was like, no, I'm just messing with you. But he's so excited that he gets to do that. Now, some of us, basically we get paid and all that money goes to bills, right? But for our individuals, think about when you first got your first paycheck. Say you were still living at home and you actually were able to, spend a little bit of that money, right? That feeling. Some of our individuals, they're at the point, they may be 40 or 50 years old, but they're at the point where they're first getting to do that. And that's a fun thing to watch, and I think you guys that are going to Queen are going to enjoy hearing the guys talk about their jobs and getting them to work and all of that. Not that most houses have one or two people that might work in the community or work out here, and then we've got some that come to day program, but a lot of our individuals work, and we try to find them meaningful jobs to do. Sometimes someone is not right for a job, so we gotta find them something else. So next door, they have 2 job coaches that's their sole job, that's what they do. They find our individuals' positions. Okay. All right, so we're gonna we're gonna continue talking here, because if we keep people in the green, everything's calm, cool, and collected, right? Once we start getting in that yellow, someone's getting upset. Now, you could try to keep people in the green in that primary prevention all day long, but someone might be upset about something that you had nothing to do with, right? They might be upset about something that happened at day program and they came home. They might be upset at day program because something had happened at the house, right? I mean, that's just the way it goes, because we're all human and we all get upset about things sometimes, right? Because our individuals may not have the same coping skills that we have, once we get into that yellow, we're trying to kind of transfer our coping skills to our individuals to help them with their coping skills. So we're offering communication-based supports during that crisis and that behavioral escalation. What do I mean by communication-based supports? What are we doing at this point when we're in the yellow? Yes, listening, verbally redirecting, asking them if they want to go and take a break over here, asking them if they want to go and have a staff sit down with them and talk. All right? So once we get into that red, the tertiary prevention, and I like that word, you guys, it just means third, but I like that word. But what happens when you get in the red? When any of us end up seeing red, what happens? Can I just talk you down at that point? No. So I'm using my emergency procedures, which is what we're gonna do when we get to the physical part, and then we're debriefing that situation, all right? That means that we're talking about it afterwards, like Mandy had said earlier. All right? So now we're gonna talk about humility-informed care. What do you think that means? What is humility? Putting someone down?
Yeah.
All right, so just think in your regular, everyday life, what is humility? What quality does that mean that you have inside of you if you have humility and you're humble? What does that mean?
Oh, I took that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, you're fine, you're fine.
I got to sit down.
What does it mean to be humble? Yes, yes. You don't believe that anybody is above you or beneath you. You try to understand what other people are going through, right? All right. So if we are humility informed, that means that we understand that we are no different than our individuals. So we're gonna read this one together. We are all trying to find our way. We're all looking for our way, no matter if our way is working at Golden Corral or our way is getting our PhD, right? It makes no difference. We are on a personal journey even while in the company of others. So if you're working in a house with 4 individuals and you're a single staff there are 5 people in that house that have different dreams and goals, right? No. It is not your responsibility or your prerogative, whatever you want to call it, to think that your goals mean anything more than anybody else's goals mean. Along the way, we discover, learn, realize, and love. We desire, strive, make mistakes, and become more fully ourselves. The people we support are on the same journey, and while it may be our vocation, that means your job, to accompany them for some number of hours each day, it is their journey. That means that we do not get to decide what they're working towards. Our individuals decide what they are working towards. We may help them along their way, perhaps by illuminating the path or by clearing away obstacles, but we cannot take their journey from them because it is theirs. So when we talk about programs and we talk about teaching people how to do certain things, the reason that we do that is to teach them how to do these things so that they can do these things for themselves. You teach them how to make that bed so that they can do it for themselves. All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about relationships. All right, so these are our circles of support. Now, I need someone to play themselves. Who wants to be themselves for me? Thank you. You were going to get nominated anyway. Well, I was like, am I going to pick on Jen? Am I going to pick on Khadidra? That was, I was thinking about it. So, but Khadidra, you are going to do the second part of this. Yeah. Okay, so Janet, you're just yourself, okay? Khadidra, you are playing one of our individuals that does not have any family involvement, all right? So you can pick JM at Tiny Group. You be him, okay? You don't have any family support, though he does have his guardian ad litem, all right? Okay, so we're gonna talk about these 3 circles. In that inner circle is your intimate people, right? Your people like your mom, your dad, your siblings, someone that's super close to you, all right? In your second circle, that is connection and participation. Those are people that might not be in your inner circle, but you still interact with. So friends that might not make it to your inner circle, all right? And then in that third circle is exchange. What does exchange mean?
Just kind of passing.
Yeah, in passing, it could be someone like the teller at the bank that you see every Friday when you go to get your check cashed. The lady that does your hair, your doctor, your dentist, someone that you interact with, but it's not a very close interaction, all right? So, Janet, you're gonna start here. Who's in your inner circle?
In mine?
Mm-hmm. Yep, personal, this is you.
Nobody. To be honest with you.
Come on, well, I'm gonna pick on somebody else then.
But, I have my sister.
Okay. Even if you think you don't have anybody in your inner circle, you have somebody in your inner circle. Because there's got to be someone that you might not tell her all your problems, but you have someone that you tell some things, or you work some stuff out with? No? All right, okay, so now I'm gonna have a third volunteer, and that's okay, you're still gonna be, you can still be Janet, I'll allow it, but who has close bond with their family? All right, Mandy, you raised your hand first, so I'm gonna let you be Mandy, okay? All right, Mandy, who's in your inner circle?
My brother, he and I are really close.
Okay, all right, anybody else in that inner circle?
My father, and my mother,
Okay,
and my other siblings.
okay, all right. Who's in JM's inner circle?
His guardian light,
His guardian ad litem,
staff.
staff. Should staff be in someone's inner circle? No. But because he doesn't have an inner circle, he starts pulling us in, right? So he will, it's not even that, you know, he doesn't want us in that inner circle. It's purely because he doesn't have any other options to be in that inner circle, right? All right, so those are the inner circles of our two staff and one of our individuals. Who is in your secondary circle, Janet? Who is it that you have connection and participation with? Okay, all right. Do you have anybody like from school that you still keep in touch with that's not, you don't have to keep in touch with them all the time, just kind of someone that you might interact with from time to time? We might put your sister in that second one since you kind of didn't want her in the inner. She might be someone that you might.
She'd be considered my inner circle, but we don't, I mean, we're close, but we don't talk about things and stuff. I mean, a little weird, but after my mom passed, like, everybody just kind of fell off. There's only like 6 of us anyways.
Right, yeah. And my family kind of did that too, and I think all of our families, you know, there is that one person that holds us together. Once my grandma passed, we are not nearly as close as we used to be. We still, you know, interact from time to time, and I mean, my mom would tell you guys that she was the only person worthy of being in my inner circle because that's how close she wants to be. But I'm not saying she wouldn't be in that circle, but I kind of, you know, arm's length a little bit because that's not the relationship that I want. So I think to be in your inner circle, both of you have to want the same relationship. And I think that's where our individuals struggle because they pull staff into that inner circle, especially like JM, and we may not feel like we want to be in that inner circle. So there's already that little bit of tension. So who is in JM's second circle?
Maybe people from the day.
People from the day program, the other guys that live in his house, other people that he interacts with, but aren't as close as the people he's pulled into that inner circle. And the thing with those people in that second circle for JM, he may not even want them in his second circle, but they're there by default because he's surrounded with the other individuals all day. Right. Mandy, who is in your second circle?
That would be probably my coworkers from my last employment.
And sometimes we do meet coworkers along the way that we kind of, you know, try to keep in contact with. I have some that I worked with ages ago in North Carolina that I still keep in touch with. It just depends. And a lot of times when you work somewhere that's not so great or is absolutely great, you build a bond with the other coworkers, and sometimes it lasts forever. All right, so now we're going to talk about that third circle, which is exchange. Janet, who's in that third circle for you? Okay. All right. Who's in JM's third circle?
Maybe like when he goes to the doctor.
Yeah. I mean, he's pretty much pulled us all in, so we're all up in, you know, other parts of the circle that we probably shouldn't have been in. Honestly, we're getting paid to do this, so we technically should be in that third circle. It doesn't always work that way because there is no one in that first and second circle, so they kind of pull us up to be in those other circles. So, who's in your third circle, Mandy?
I wouldn't say friends, but people that I keep that arm's length.
Yeah, acquaintances, maybe, you know, someone you see.
And you're like, hi.
Yeah. I have a lot of those people that, you know, because once I've done all the interacting in here that I've done, I'm kind of, you know, I'm interacted out.
Yeah.
I usually don't talk to nobody else after I get home. I usually just tell my husband, you know, I talked a lot today, sorry. And I just go out and do my own thing and read and, you know, relax my mind. So, anyway, what do you think was the reason for talking about that? And demonstrating 3 different people's circles. What do you think the point was?
To show you how everybody's circles are different.
Yeah, everybody's circles are different, and we have to understand that when we get in these facilities, that if Khadidra, Janet, and Mandy are in the same facility, I cannot work with them the exact same way, right? Because everybody has different needs, and everybody has different supports, and everybody needs different supports.
Do you have anyone that just kind of likes to, and they enjoy this, they kind of like stay to themselves and, you know, just kind of.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. We have an individual at Honey Path, and he is sweet as he can be, but he likes his own space. So generally, even if he tells you that something is wrong, he doesn't want you to come ask him about it right after he's told you. Like, that's enough interaction from him just telling you that something's wrong. He needs 30 more minutes to calm himself enough to have a conversation with you about what's wrong. He's very private, he's very quiet, and he likes it that way. I don't know that I've ever, other than me maybe, met someone who is completely happy just, you know, sitting by themselves in a room. I mean, just absolutely, completely enraptured with joy that everyone has left him alone. I am like that quite a lot. Now, I'm capable of interaction as well, but I need my time to, you know, acclimate myself to dealing with people again. And I saw Janet smiling, so I'm thinking she might enjoy that quiet time as well. Yeah. I have always been like that. When I was little, I would put notes on my bedroom door that I was on like a vacation. So I had staycations before we even called it that. But I would put little notes on my door and say that I was on vacation and no one needed to bother me. And I would just stay in my room all evening and with the door locked, and it would just be completely quiet. I've just always needed that time to like recharge and prepare myself for the rest of the day. And some of our individuals, like you just asked, are like that as well. And even if individuals are not like that, we still need to be respectful of their boundaries and their ways that they want to interact with us. That is part of your job, all right? Now, so we're going to talk a little bit about the essential qualities of the professional helper. And what we're going to do here is you each are going to select a word, and you're going to tell me why that's an essential quality. So I would pull a Khadidra here and try to go first, so you pick the good, easy words to describe. Just say it. So,
Being kind.
being kind. See, you guys, Khadidra's already done this with me, and she's done the classes, so she's got it down. So yes, why is it essential to be kind?
Because really you never know how someone is feeling.
Yeah, and you never know what past trauma that person has been through. And a loud noise or a loud voice sometimes is all it takes to set someone off or to remind them of something that has happened in their past. I despise when someone gets loud, like when they're yelling. Now I can handle, talking loud because I have a loud voice, but and everybody in here tells me all the time I'm loud. They come shut my doors and things. But what I mean is I cannot stand it when someone yells. It like triggers something in me, and I'm gonna go off and basically hide somewhere. Not like I'm gonna go get the closet, but I'm gonna go find somewhere where I can go and be on my own, because that is something that freaks me out. I don't know what happened in my past that, if someone, my mom was kind of loud, I guess, but whatever it is, it affects me every time that someone is loud. If anyone were like drop things, sometimes dropped things freak me out. I don't know, maybe I need to go to see the psychiatrist or something, but I haven't yet, and I've made it this far, so it's probably just something that bothers me. But our individuals have things like that as well, so we should be kind and receptive to the fact that that might not be something that they enjoy in their house. And some individuals are louder than other individuals. And you might have a house where 2 individuals are super quiet and 2 individuals are super loud. So you have to help find that balance in the house for those individuals that don't like the loud. Alright, so that was kind. Someone else give me a word. Respectful. See, Shay's starting to get it. Alright. Why is that an essential quality?
Cause you have to like give respect in order to receive.
Yes, absolutely. If you want respect back, then you have to give respect. Then we're gonna talk in a few steps about, or in a few slides, about non-reciprocity. That means that you cannot expect it just because you get it. Now you can desire it, and you can, you might get it, but there might be times where you don't get it. But yes, respectful is an essential quality of the professional helper. All right, somebody else. Patient, yes. Why is that an essential quality? I'll get to you in a second, Jen.
You have to be patient to be in this type of work.
Absolutely. This job requires a lot of patience. Definitely. And I know Khadijah and Shay can definitely speak to that because they've worked here before. This job requires a lot of patience. But anytime you work with people, the job requires a lot of patience, because people are sometimes unpredictable, sometimes annoying, and people are just not who you want to spend all your time with all the time, right? But you don't get to pick and choose who you work with when you do something like this. And we're going to talk about that too here in a bit. All right, Janet, what was your word?
Flexible.
Flexible. Why is it important to be flexible?
Because no 2 individuals are the same, the situations are going to be the same.
Absolutely, yeah. None of us are the same, right? We're all different. All right, somebody else. Trustworthy. Why is it important to be trustworthy? To build good relationships, yes. You need, if you tell somebody, like in the Tom video, you tell someone that you're gonna do something, you need to be trustworthy to follow through with that. Because if you don't, then the next time you tell an individual something, they're not gonna trust you. All right? Sincere. All right, I'll get you in a second, Aisha. Go ahead, Harriet.
I think you have to be sincere when you're expressing stuff, and kind of links back to trustworthy.
Absolutely. Our individuals can tell when you are being fake, I promise. They can tell when you're just giving them lip service. You need to be sincere doing something like this. All right, and Aisha.
Or is that empowering?
Empowering. That's my favorite one. why should we be empowering? What does that mean to be empowering? Positive. Teaching someone as opposed to doing it for them. You guys are responsible for, what does CTH stand for? What does it mean?
Community training home.
Community training home. What's that middle word? Training. We are training our individuals to become more independent and to live their best lives, right? You're going to empower them much more by training them how to do something than you are just by doing it for them. All right, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we're going along as well. All right, so now we're going to talk, and I did skip a slide there. So we're going to talk about mindfulness and helping, non-reciprocity. What did I tell you guys non-reciprocity was?
Because you're nice, it might not be reciprocated.
Yes, you are never going to get back what you put in. And that's the same thing with your kids, your nieces, your nephews, your siblings, your parents, everything. You are never going to get back what you put in, right? And who in here has kids? Do you get back what you put in with those little boogers? No. Shay, yours are little. I know that you do not get back what you put in. There's no way. Maybe when you're older, they'll take care of you. That's I guess the hope. But I have 2 teenage boys, and I never get back what I put in. And it's just like with our individuals, you might not get back what you put in, but some of the stuff you get back is going to make it all worthwhile for you. When you see an individual go to work that no one said was going to be able to have a job. When you see an individual make their bed when you never assumed they'd be able to do that. Those are things that you're going to, that's where you're going to get back some of that, some of what you put in, but you're never going to get back all of what you put in. So if you are looking to get back all of what you put in, this is definitely not the position for you. I don't know that I can think of a job or anything where you're ever going to get back everything that you put in. I don't know, can anybody think of anything? Any part of life where you're going to get everything that you put in? No. So it's going to be the same way with our individuals. No. All right, and we're going to talk a little bit about boundaries. The reason that we're going to talk about boundaries is because, what did we talk about JM doing? He's pulling people in because he doesn't have anyone in that inner circle. So not that it's not important to have boundaries with all of our individuals, but it's particularly important to have boundaries with our individuals who don't have anyone else, because they transfer that to you that, oh, you're somebody that, I love, right? And JM loves to tell you that he loves you. So we've been working on something with JM because it makes some of the other guys uncomfortable because they've had other traumas in their lives. So we've been working with JM to get him to say, I care about you, which we know that he does, and we care about him too. We obviously wouldn't be here if we didn't care about our individuals, right? But we have to keep those boundaries. Those boundaries provide clarity, ensure safety, and promote healthy growth and practice. Those boundaries should never be violated and only crossed with caution and consideration. Our actions should be transparent to other team members. So it should never look like we're crossing those boundaries to somebody else, right? All right, now we're going to talk about, this is one of my favorite parts we're getting into here. All right, so we're going to talk about mindfulness in helping power. And so I'm going to go back to what Aisha chose as her essential quality, and that is empowerment. So we're gonna read these 3 quotes, and then you guys are gonna explain these 3 quotes to me, all right? Martin Luther King said that the riot is the language of the unheard. What does that mean?
It's the consequences of like not being listened to.
Yes, absolutely. That was a really good explanation. Sometimes people kind of don't want to give me an explanation there, but yes, that is it. If you're not going to hear me, I'm going to get loud. And if you still don't hear me, I might get a lot louder, right? So, what does that make our responsibility in that? To listen, to hear our individuals. Because if you don't hear them, this is where behavioral issues come from. Behavioral issues come from not every behavioral issue, but a lot of behavioral issues come from not being heard. No. Hear somebody. If I can't teach you anything else in this whole time, I want you to go out and I want you to hear what people are telling you through their words, their actions, their facial expressions, all of those things, all right? Nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. What does that mean?
See a man's true character when they have power over others.
Yes, absolutely. You see a man's true character or a person's true character when you see how they behave with a little bit of power. Anybody ever had a boss that you're like, oh, they let that power go to their heads? And we all have. I am absolutely sure we have all met someone who let the power go to their heads. Anybody ever worked in fast food? Had a manager that thought that, just because they got that little shift manager tag and that 50 cent or whatever it is, that it entitled them to, tell everybody what to do and just kind of lord it over everybody? Yeah, I think that most of us have had that. And I always choose fast food for this because I always used to say if I got my PhD, I would write my dissertation on the behavior of supervisors in fast food restaurants who had recently moved from staff at those restaurants. Because it's like a switch flips. I've never seen anything like it. It's a very, very strange action for people to have. But that's how we know that they can't handle that power, right? Now, if you ever run across a supervisor here that's behaving that way, then you need to be letting someone know, because that is not who needs to be in a supervisory position. Now, we have 2 people in this class who are going into supervisory positions. So please, please don't act like it makes you any different than anyone else, because it doesn't. We all have a job that we're doing, from individuals all the way up to the executive director. Everybody has a position, and nobody's position is any better or worse than anyone else's. We're all here for the same reason. And what is the reason that we're here? Our individuals, our consumers, yes. All right, and this one is my absolute favorite quote. This is Toni Morrison. You guys know who Toni Morrison is? She's an author, all right? When you get these jobs that you have been so brilliantly trained for, as I'm your brilliant trainer, so just remember that your real job is that if you are free, you need to free somebody else. If you have some power, then your job is to empower somebody else. Now, take that last line. If you have some power, then your job is to empower somebody else. And tell me what that means. What does that mean?
Kind of like, are you talking about like other employees or
Anybody?
just, bringing someone up the ladder with you?
Mhm.
Trying to help them, get, promoted or hired.
Absolutely.
Teaching them and guiding them.
Yes, absolutely. Anybody else have anything to add to that one? I saw Harriet's face when she heard that. She seemed to enjoy that quote, so.
Yes, because I think, when you're in a place of power, you can lift other people up because you have that sphere of influence.
Absolutely. And I always try to do that in my position. I don't know that I'm always successful with it, but I want everyone to understand that their job is just as important as anybody else's job. And we all, at the end of the day, have the same type of power in the position that we're in. We can either teach someone how to do something, or we can do it for them. And if you teach someone, you are empowering them. You're taking that power that you have and giving it to them. That is what we're doing here. We're taking the power that we have in the fact that we already know how to make a bed. We already know how to count change. We already know how to do these things, right? But we're teaching somebody else how to do it so that they know it as well. Because isn't it easier to teach someone how to pay for their own food at the restaurant instead of you having to be with them every time they buy food at the restaurant? Absolutely. So you teach them how to do it. All right, so we're going to talk about mindfulness in helping non-volition. What do you think that I mean here? You guys can kind of look over the slide and see what I'm talking about. And this is slide 16 in your packet. It says mindfulness in helping non-volition. What does non-volition mean in this context? What am I talking about?
It's basically like accepting who you have there, and like that's who you need to support and figure out what steps it would take to help them be successful.
Absolutely. You do not get to choose the people you work with, right? Now, you might work in a house where all 4 individuals want to do everything for themselves. You might also work in a house where 2 individuals want to do everything for themselves and 2 individuals have no desire to do it. But that does not mean that you work with the 2 that want to do it and you leave the other 2 alone. Your job is to work with all 4 of those individuals, no matter where they are on that list or on that scale of wanting to do things for themselves, right? All right, so flip over to slide, on here it's 17. Sorry. Willing and able. So I'm gonna give you guys a couple options and we're all gonna go around and we're gonna choose if we could pick the perfect person to work with, which of these 2 qualities would they have, all right? So you can either work with someone who is willing and able to do things, someone who is willing and unable to do things, someone who is unwilling but able to do things, or someone who is unwilling and unable to do things. Now, we're gonna go around and you guys are gonna tell me, in a perfect world, who would you choose to work with? Most everybody has the same answer here, but we're gonna talk about different parts to this, all right? Harriet, I'm gonna let you go first.
I would take the willing and unable.
Willing and unable. Harriet is a teacher like me. That is my group as well, because I like to teach and I like that, oh, I've shown someone or I've empowered them to do this for themselves. All right, Shay?
I was gonna say the same thing.
All right. Aisha?
Willing and able.
Willing and able. All right. Janet?
I would say unwilling and able.
Oh, Janet wants to be, she's like, I'm gonna jump in here and I'm gonna get this done. All right. Okay, we're definitely gonna come back to that one. All right, Khadidra?
Willing and able.
Willing and able. All right, Denisha?
I said willing and unable to.
Okay, and Mandy?
Willing and able.
All right, okay. So a lot of our individuals are gonna be willing and able, but all of us in our own lives, and I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna take myself and put myself in this scenario. There are times when I'm willing and able, right? I am willing and able to come to work because I like my job. right? I am willing and unable to go ice skating. I'd like to try it, but you know, I don't know that this is the body of an ice skater, but you know, I'm unable to do it, but maybe somebody can teach me how, right? I am unwilling but able to change a tire. I can probably figure it out, but that's what I got married for, right? Like that's his job now. He comes and he changes tires if I have a flat, all right? But I could probably figure it out if it absolutely had to. I am unwilling and unable to build a house. I'm not ever interested in learning how to do that, and I don't know how to do it, right? So my point here is all of us at some point in our lives fit into all four of these categories. So even if you have an individual and you walk in that house and you think they are gonna be willing and able to do everything, and they are willing and able to do most things, I guarantee you somewhere along the way there's something they're unwilling to do. Because all of us have things that are, as people would call them now, hard-nosed. Like those are things that we're just not doing that, right? Our individuals are the same way. Now you might work with someone that doesn't have many of those, but you might work with someone also who has nothing but hard-nosed. They're not interested in trying anything, but that doesn't mean that you don't work with that person, all right? And I'm gonna go back to Mandy's, or not Mandy, I'm sorry, Janet's unwilling and able. Is that who you chose? Yeah. So what made you choose that group?
Because if they have the ability to do it, and they're just unwilling to do it, because typically they're unmotivated to do it, so you just have to find what it is that's gonna motivate them, or if it's a habit that they've had.
Absolutely.
Like to break that habit, and
Yeah.
it takes 30 days to break a habit, 30 days to build a new one, so you just replace that habit with something.
Absolutely, that was excellent. That's a great point, yes. So when you are working with someone who is unwilling but able to do something, they don't have the right motivation or reinforcer, right? And it is our job to help them find the correct reinforcer. I don't know, do you guys remember the class that I taught on, no, you guys weren't in my positive behavior support, so sorry. But in that class, I talk about so praise is a really, really strong motivator, right? A lot of our individuals will respond to that. But praise is not a motivator or a reinforcer for everything. Why is that? Think about some things that praise would not be an effective reinforcement for. Negative behavior? What about coming to work? Is praise an effective reinforcer? No. It's a nice reinforcer. It's nice for me to say, hey, great job coming to work, you guys. But if I went into your paychecks and I took your day away and I just put, you know, Denasha did a really good job coming to training today, but she didn't get a paycheck for it, you coming back to training tomorrow? No. Because praise is an effective reinforcer, but it is not an effective reinforcer for everything. But you should always try praise first, because praise might be enough, right? Someone might be unwilling to do something, but if you give them that praise for trying, they might want to try the next day, right? Now that might not work, or it could be the person giving them that praise that helps it to work, right? They may not respond from praise from Mandy because Mandy is the supervisor, right? But they might be okay taking praise from Aisha because Aisha works with them on a daily basis and she is their direct support, right? Flip it the other way, we have a supervisor, Anthony, that has an individual that lives with him, TM, that TM does not respond to his staff any sort of motivation that they give him, any sort of reinforcer, but he'll respond to that same reinforcer if it comes from Anthony, because Anthony's his supervisor. And We have attempted to find different ways for that to work. Sometimes the staff can say, well, Anthony would like for you to do blah, blah, blah. Sometimes that works. Sometimes even that doesn't work, so Anthony has to come in and speak to that person. But he has such a bond with Anthony that he has kind of transferred that to, this is who I listen to. This is who I want to perform for. So sometimes that happens as well. What do you do in a scenario where the individual only wants to respond to Mandy instead of responding to Khadidra? What can we do? What happens if Mandy and Khadidra team up for a little while, work together, and then we take Mandy out of the situation, and then we've associated Mandy and Khadidra together, so they're starting to get that, oh, well, I respond to Khadidra the same way that I respond to Mandy. It's the same thing that Janet was talking about. It's a matter of finding the correct reinforcer or motivation. And it takes how long it takes. You might be able to knock it out in those 30 days because you find the correct reinforcer. It may take longer than that because you have to go and you have to dig a little bit to find the correct reinforcer. But our job is to find the correct reinforcer because it exists for all of our individuals and it exists for all of us. I don't want to change my own tire, right? But if the reinforcer was, I get $500,000 for changing my tire, I'm gonna get out there and get a little dirty and change my tire, right? But if the reinforcer is just my husband, patting me on the back and saying, good job, Shanoa, probably not gonna change that tire, right? I'm probably gonna sit on the side of the road till somebody stops and, takes pity on me if my husband won't come do it. So, but if any of y'all got a flat tire, my husband would come fix it, I promise. That's just the kind of person that he is. But that's, I just bragging on my husband a little bit. But what I'm kind of trying to get at here is we all have different reinforcers and motivations, and we just have to find them. Now, you don't want to find unrealistic ones because if somebody offers me $500,000 every time I change a tire, what might I go do? Change tires. Or I might just walk around, stabbing the tires that I have and changing them, right? But you'll want to start small when you're thinking about reinforcers. So that's why praise should always kind of be the first one that you try. Because if praise works, awesome job, you got it, you can move forward and they're gonna keep trying that. But sometimes you might need to, work your way up a little bit. But if you're always offering me that $500,000, I'm always expecting that $500,000 every time I change a tire, right? And I might go get me some Hot Wheels and change the tires on my Hot Wheels and be like, look, I need $500,000 for each of these, right? Because you didn't specify what kind of tire it was. Do individuals do things like that, Khadidra? Yes. They will work around the system sometimes because they want whatever that reinforcer is, so they're gonna use any way that they can get to that reinforcer. That you want to find the proper reinforcers that work for the proper things. All right. So we're gonna talk just a little bit, and I only go over this because there is a question on your test about positive behavior support. Next month, each of you will come back to a positive behavior support class that I teach. Now, Khadidra, you've already had it. Shay, I am not sure. I'll have to look at your stuff as to whether you had it already, but the rest of you will have to come back next month for that class. It's only like a 3-hour class. It doesn't take long. You will also do person-centered planning during that time. But it will be on the calendar, so you guys pay attention for that. All right. Positive behavior support or PDS, which we call it PDS a lot, is a comprehensive trauma-informed approach to support that applies the science of behavior in a respectful, inclusive, and person-centered way. That's a lot of words just to say that positive behavior support is focused on the person and trying to find the supports that work best for that person, all right? Sometimes we get a little wordy in our language when we could make it a lot simpler. PBS commits to ensuring the person can effectively communicate. That doesn't mean that they can verbally communicate, because some of our individuals do not have the capacity to verbally communicate, right? What this means is we are trying to find the way that works best for that person to communicate. So if you're working with an individual that might be deaf, you are helping them to learn sign language or the level of sign language that they can learn. MG at Honeypath has his own form of sign language that works for him, and the staff learn it as they come in. But if you were to go in there and you were gonna try American Sign Language with MG, he wouldn't know a thing you were talking about other than no and stop. Everything else he's it's what he associates with. But you would learn that because that's the way that he effectively communicates. We're always trying to use positive, non-coercive support strategies. What does that mean? What is non-coercive? You're not trying to bribe somebody to do something, correct? You're trying to get them to do it because they want to do it. And you have to find the way to help them want to do it. Promoting resilience, self-determination, and recovery. So you're trying to help that person be resilient to the things that are in their lives, right? Helping the person achieve a rich quality of life, however that looks and whatever that takes. Helping people discover and build on their strengths, because we all have strengths, right? Anybody in a job interview ever been asked, what are your strengths and your, like the things you need to work on? Yeah, I'm sure in this position that you guys just got, there was a question kind of similar to that. So we're helping our individuals find those strengths in themselves. Understanding how the person's behavior functions. What does that mean? What does function mean? How it works and why they do the things that they do. There are 4 basic types of functions of behavior. There is sensory. What does that mean, sensory? Yes. Yep. All right. Then there is attention. What is attention? Yeah. Getting someone else to pay attention, basically. There's also, I forgot that. Sorry.
It's okay, you remember too.
I did.
It'll come back in a minute.
It will, yeah. Tangibles. What are tangibles? Things you can actually hold. All right, so we're looking at, so sometimes people's behaviors, as people have specific behaviors because they want specific items, right? Attention, they want attention from other people, right? Then the sensory, because they get sensory gratification from whatever it is. People are self-injurious because they get some kind of sensory pleasure from that, right? Okay. All right, and then we are teaching skills and establishing appropriate supports. So that means that we are helping them to learn the skills that they need to live more independent lives, and we are establishing appropriate supports. All of us need different supports in our lives, right? All right, and we're gonna talk just a little bit about behavior, and then we are gonna move on to going over your test, okay? All right, behavior is what a person does. The person's behavior is a solution to a problem. What does that mean? If I pick up this paperclip and I throw it across the room and I hit somebody in the head with it, and because of that, I get you to pay attention to me. What was the solution to my problem? I wanted attention, so what did I do to get that attention? I threw that paperclip at you, right? If that is the solution to that problem of me getting attention from you, what can we do to teach me how to get attention in a more appropriate way? What can you teach me to do? Instead of throwing this paperclip, how can I better get Denasha's attention? Ask. If I think that throwing things always is the only way for me to get that attention, your job is to teach me a better way to ask for that attention, all right? Whether it's raising my hand, putting my hand on a certain spot on my table, holding up a star, or asking Denasha to give me some time, whatever it is, help me find a way to ask for that that's more appropriate than throwing this paperclip. Because what happens out in the world when I just throw this paperclip at everybody? They don't like it, yeah. Am I gonna get the attention that I'm looking for? No. And what happens when I don't get the attention that I'm looking for? I might throw something bigger than a paperclip, right? Yeah. So a lot of times when we look at individuals' behaviors and we think, oh my gosh, that is so out of control, somewhere along the way, it was not out of control. But someone tried to help them alter that behavior in an incorrect way, or tried to, or always gave them that attention. And then somewhere along the way, they tossed the paperclip and it didn't work for one person, so they said, well, you know what? I'm gonna pick up my cup and throw it, and then they're gonna turn around, right? So it just kind of builds on itself, and then all of a sudden it's this ball that we can't stop from rolling. That's why when things are smaller, and I just threw my paperclip, but that's why when things are, you know, kind of smaller and more manageable like that paperclip, we need to try to find a way to help them at that point so that it doesn't end up throwing themselves at Denasha to get attention, right? All right. The person doing the behavior may be completely unaware of the behavior or the behavior's purpose. So I may not even know that what I want to get out of that is Denasha's attention, right? But that's what I get out of it, and I enjoy that I got her attention out of that. So I'm going to keep doing it because behavior is influenced by its outcomes. What does that mean?
So if they're throwing paperclip to get the attention, they don't care like if it's positive or negative.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Reinforcement makes a behavior more likely to happen. If you reinforce it by giving me that attention, then tomorrow what am I gonna do? I'm gonna throw that paperclip again, right? Reinforcement can be what the person gets or makes happen, but reinforcement can also be what the person gets away from or keeps from happening. So now put me in my bedroom, Denasha's coming in, and it's time for me to get my shower. Denasha walks in that room and I throw that paperclip at her and she leaves. What did I get out of that? I didn't have to take my shower, right? So it could either be something I get or something I get away from. All right, and then we're gonna talk just a tiny bit about behavior pathways. And we're gonna start at this number 2, antecedents. Who's heard that word? What does that word mean?
I think what happens before.
Yep, antecedent is what happens before. Yep. Behavior, what's behavior? Anything that a person does, yes. And what's a consequence or an outcome? Yep, what happens because of, what happens directly after. So, A, B, C, antecedent, behavior, consequence. This is exactly, and you're gonna write GERs tomorrow, this is exactly how you write a GER. You write about the antecedent, and the question is what happened before the behavior. Then you write about the behavior, which the question is what happened during the event. Then you write about the consequence, and the question there is what was the corrective action taken? So, if I am sitting at my table and I'm playing with my pen, and all of a sudden I throw my pen at Harriet, and then Harriet walks over to my table to check on me, somebody diagram that one for me. What was the antecedent? What happened right before? What was I doing right before I threw that pen? I was playing with my pen at my table, right? That is the antecedent. It does not have to be something that's this huge thing. That is the antecedent. What was my behavior? I threw the pen. What was the consequence? Harriet came to my table, right? What am I gonna do tomorrow? Throw my pen to get Harriet to come over, right? So, what can Harriet do to keep that from happening tomorrow? Yes, that's a good one too. What could she do as soon as she walks in the door? Check on me. Already give me that attention so that I'm not starved for that attention and I'm not asking her however I figure out to ask her, right? That is called an antecedent strategy. When you are figuring out what to do to change what I'm over here doing and thinking about. You're already coming in and you're talking to me and trying to fix the situation before it becomes a situation. All right, make sure I hit on everything, and I think that I did. So we're gonna go over your test for just a bit.